She didn't even let the ink dry on the season before rewriting the definition of power. While the rest of the league packed their gym bags, booked quick vacations, and scrolled through social media trying to stay relevant, Caitlin Clark was already cashing her next check. Not a sneaker deal, not a photo shoot, not a sponsorship post, a real deal, the kind that makes executives sit up straight and players lose sleep. The WNBA season had barely ended, but Clark wasn't chasing rest. She was chasing legacy, leverage, and a whole lot of money. And the sound of that pen hitting paper sent shockwaves through locker rooms coast to coast. The league's brightest star had just turned her offseason into a business masterclass, proving once again why every headline seems to orbit around her name. While half the WNBA is busy arguing about pay gaps, travel debates, and CBA clauses, Caitlyn's already on a different level, signing $100,000 speaking deals that make league salaries look like lunch money. She's not chasing stats anymore. She's cashing power plays, one microphone at a time. This isn't just another move. It's domination dressed in professionalism. The rest of the WNBA is still fighting for equality. Caitlin Clark just went and created her own economy. She's not showing up to promote sneakers or pose in campaigns. She's stepping into polished ballrooms filled with Fortune 500 executives who pay her six figures to talk about what she already loves: winning. When word broke that Clark had secured her first off-season speaking gig, the entire sports world tilted. It wasn't just a headline, it was a power signal. Caitlin Clark, fresh off dragging the fever into relevance and shattering viewership records, was now getting paid superstar money just to share her mindset. No sweat, no fouls, no referees pretending not to see hits. Just a microphone, applause, and another paycheck that dwarfs what most WNBA players earn in an entire season. Reports confirmed that her speaking. And here's where things get deliciously uncomfortable for the WNBA brass. In the time it takes her to finish that keynote, she'll earn what most of her peers make from an entire season's worth of bus rides, bruises, and back-to-backs. The average salary hovers around $120,000. Clark can hit that figure before lunch. The irony writes itself. The league's most marketable player doesn't even need to step on the court to out-earn her peers. And the part that burns her critics the most? She's doing it with grace, without controversy, and without asking for validation. The same system that once tried to contain her is now dependent on her to survive. When Caitlin Clark moves, the whole sports world adjusts. And nobody's feeling that sting sharper than Angel Reese. The self-proclaimed Bayou Barbie has made her brand on personality, confidence, and social media attention, but every time she refreshes her feed lately, the top trends say one thing: Caitlin Clark. Again. While Angel talks about being the face of the WNBA, Caitlin's out here owning the conversation. Angel can post selfies, soundbites, and quotes about respect all day long, but Caitlin doesn't chase the spotlight. She commands it. She doesn't beg for relevance. She monetizes it. This move is more than money. It's power redistribution. Every time Caitlin signs one of these deals, the balance of control in women's sports shifts a little more. When one athlete becomes bigger than the league itself, the hierarchy changes overnight. Sponsors stop asking for league approval. They call her directly. Networks don't reach out to the WNBA's PR office. They call her agent. Caitlin Clark has officially crossed the threshold from player to enterprise. The league can't shape her image. She defines it herself. For years, the WNBA's biggest stars fought for credibility, fighting media bias, low pay, and lack of exposure. Caitlin arrived and flipped that entire script in one season. She didn't just make people watch. She didn't just make people watch. She made people invest. She turned the Indiana Fever into a national draw, filled arenas that once echoed, and made TV ratings skyrocket. And now, she's doing it again, but this time, for herself. Her corporate speaking fees don't just symbolize her worth. They expose the WNBA's ceiling. When one player's voice is worth six figures outside the game, it's clear who's carrying the league inside it. Angel Reese's envy is almost cinematic. Sources even discovered that after Clark's $100,000 speaking rate went viral, Angel suddenly raised her own booking fee to, you guessed it, $100,000 too. Coincidence? Not likely. Just a few months ago, her speaker profile didn't list a price at all. Now, after Caitlyn's deal trended nationwide, suddenly the numbers match. It's imitation disguised as competition. The truth is, Caitlyn's not thinking about Angel. She's not thinking about the noise, the chatter, or the comparisons. She's too busy building her empire. While the rest of the WNBA is arguing over the new CBA, Clark's proving she doesn't need it. She's created complete independence, the kind of financial and professional autonomy no other player in the league has achieved. The WNBA needs Caitlyn Clark far more than she needs them. Every trend, every broadcast, every sponsor boost comes from her orbit. When she speaks, the league gains attention. When she plays, they gain revenue. But when she acts on her own, she doesn't lose a cent. That's leverage on a level women's sports has never seen. Corporations recognize it too. To them, Caitlyn Clark isn't just an athlete. She's a brand with global reach. Kids in Europe copy her shot. Fans in Asia stream her highlights. Her jerseys sell out across the United States. Parents buy their daughter's number 22 because she represents something bigger than basketball: focus, excellence, and independence. And that's why these companies are calling her instead of anyone else. For Angel, Reese, and others who once tried to make Clark the villain, it's a bitter pill to swallow. Caitlyn doesn't clap back. She doesn't throw shade. She just wins, on the court, in the media, and now in business. Every corporate deal, every speaking engagement, every applause-filled ballroom chips away at the illusion that anyone else in the league can compete with her cultural reach. While others talk about being real, Caitlyn's showing what real success looks like. She's professionalism without pretense, discipline without drama, confidence without chaos. That's why fans love her and corporations trust her. She doesn't just play the game, she elevates it. And deep down, that's the nightmare scenario for the WNBA. Because Caitlyn Clark isn't just its most valuable player, she's its entire economy. When she plays, the ratings explode. When she rests, the viewership collapses. That's not hype. That's data. She's the gravitational center of the league, and she knows it. The front office knows it too, which is why every independent move she makes sends executives into quiet panic. The idea that their biggest star could one day walk away, even temporarily, would collapse their momentum overnight. Yet if she did, Caitlyn wouldn't lose anything. She's already built a business model that thrives without the WNBA logo attached. That's independence, the kind of autonomy every athlete dreams of, but few ever achieve. And the best part? She's doing it without arrogance. Caitlyn Clark doesn't brag about her success. She doesn't need to. The numbers, the deals, the headlines, they all speak for her. When she talks about leadership, she's not reading from a script. She's speaking from experience. She understands that people are different, that true leadership means adapting, connecting, and inspiring. That's what separates her from every loud voice trying to imitate her path. Caitlyn leads with empathy, intelligence, and results. She doesn't force influence. She earns it. So when she walks into that Long Island ballroom on October 29th, calm, composed, and in control, every executive there will understand what the WNBA has been slow to admit. Caitlyn Clark is not just a player. She's a blueprint. She's the prototype for the next generation of women in sports. Athletes who don't just play the game, they own it. Every check she signs, every contract she negotiates, every standing ovation she earns reminds the world that the WNBA didn't create her success. She created it herself. And somewhere across the country, while Caitlyn rehearses her keynote in peace, Angel Reese will be scrolling through her phone, watching Caitlyn trend again, and wondering how it feels to lose a spotlight she never really owned in the first place. They thought she'd fade when the lights dimmed. They thought the cameras would turn away, that the WNBA hype would cool off once the season was over, but Caitlyn Clark had other plans. What nobody understood was that the offseason wasn't downtime for her, it was her takeover season. The minute the final buzzer of the Fever season sounded, Clark didn't retreat, she advanced. While other players were vacationing or posting cryptic social media captions, she was out front, headlining corporate stages, leading leadership seminars, and walking into rooms where the power brokers of American sports were sitting in silence, waiting to hear from her. Her presence was magnetic, Not just because of her shooting records or rookie stats, but because she represented something raw, fresh, and undeniable. A new era where athletes controlled their own narratives. Every step she took in the offseason looked like strategy. Every headline from ESPN to Forbes fed into the idea that Caitlin Clark wasn't just an athlete anymore. She was a brand, a movement, a generational force that refused to fade quietly into the background. What made it even more surreal was how rapidly she learned to navigate that space. A few months ago, Clark was fighting through screens and hard fouls on the hardwood. Now she was handling microphones and million-dollar sponsorships with the same poise she showed in clutch time. Reports of her $100,000 per appearance weren't exaggerations. They were receipts. At each event, whether it was the packed business summit in Long Island or private brand gatherings in Chicago and Indianapolis, she captivated executives who were used to polished corporate speakers, but not used to authenticity. Caitlin's charm wasn't rehearsed. It was rooted in the same competitive fire that made her a college legend. She didn't talk in jargon. She talked in conviction. She didn't pitch herself as a brand. She embodied one. And as those videos of her speeches started to circulate online, fans began to realize something deeper. Caitlin Clark was teaching everyone how to rewrite the playbook on fame. You didn't have to beg for attention. You could command it just by showing up as yourself. Her words carried weight because people believed her. When she spoke about leadership, the crowd leaned in. When she mentioned resilience, you could almost hear a collective exhale from young athletes, students, and even executives who saw their own struggles reflected in her story. She talked about accountability, teamwork, and staying grounded in chaos, all while knowing that the media circus around her was growing louder by the day. She made it look effortless, but everyone who knew her journey understood it wasn't. This was the same woman who had carried the fever through the storm, who'd faced unfair officiating, online hate, and jealousy from rival players, and yet here she was, glowing under the spotlight, proof that grace and grit could coexist. But the real power shift came when her influence began crossing boundaries. Big-name corporations started to view Caitlin Clark not just as a basketball star, but as a thought leader. Companies that once ignored women's sports were suddenly lining up for partnerships, hoping to borrow a fraction of her authenticity. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm. All the usual suspects were there, but so were surprising newcomers from tech, education, and even finance sectors, eager to align with someone who could actually move culture. And behind every handshake, behind every stage appearance, there was the unspoken truth that Caitlin Clark had changed the rules. No more waiting for leagues or networks to validate her. She was doing it herself, and she was winning. And as those videos of her speeches started to circulate online, fans began to realize something deeper. Caitlin Clark was teaching everyone how to rewrite the playbook on fame. You didn't have to beg for attention. You could command it just by showing up as yourself. Her words carried weight because people believed her. When she spoke about leadership, the crowd leaned in. When she mentioned resilience, you could almost hear a collective exhale from young athletes, students, and even executives who saw their own struggles reflected in her story. She talked about accountability, teamwork, and staying grounded in chaos, all while knowing that the media circus around her was growing louder by the day. She made it look effortless, but everyone who knew her journey understood it wasn't. This was the same woman who had carried the fever through the storm, who'd faced unfair officiating, online hate, and jealousy from rival players, and yet here she was, glowing under the spotlight, proof that grace and grit could coexist. But the real power shift came when her influence began crossing boundaries. Big-name corporations started to view Caitlin Clark not just as a basketball star, but as a thought leader. Companies that once ignored women's sports were suddenly lining up for partnerships, hoping to borrow a fraction of her authenticity. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm. All the usual suspects were there, but so were surprising newcomers from tech, education, and even finance sectors, eager to align with someone who could actually move culture. And behind every handshake, behind every stage appearance, there was the unspoken truth that Caitlin Clark had changed the rules. No more waiting for leagues or networks to validate her. She was doing it herself, and she was winning. Meanwhile, critics kept trying to stir controversy. Some called her success overhyped. Others whispered that the media gave her too much credit. But every time they tried to discredit her, she responded the same way she always had, with results. Her off-season training clips went viral. Her on-court workouts looked sharper than ever. She was out shooting male NBA players in joint sessions, impressing trainers, and even earning praise from analysts who once doubted her transition from college to pro. Her laser focus reminded everyone why she was special, not just her talent, but her discipline. "She's not chasing fame," one insider remarked. "She's chasing legacy." And that line summed it up perfectly, because while her name was trending daily, Clark's real obsession was with progress, not popularity. That mindset separated her from everyone else in the conversation. While rival stars chased headlines through drama, Clark built her empire quietly. And yet, the more quietly she built, the louder the world noticed. The Angel Reese comparisons kept popping up, but the gap between them was becoming unmistakable. Reese leaned into provocation, while Clark leaned into professionalism. Reese played for reaction. Clark played for respect. It wasn't about rivalry anymore. It was about direction. And Caitlin Clark was moving forward so fast that no amount of noise could slow her momentum. Her brand was expanding internationally, with fans from Europe and Asia flooding her mentions, calling her the Steph Curry of women's basketball. It wasn't an exaggeration, it was evolution. By mid-off-season, she had achieved what no rookie had done before, transcending her league's marketing limitations. The Fever, once considered a rebuilding team, had become a global headline because of her magnetism. Merchandise sold out overnight. Ticket renewals skyrocketed. Even opposing teams saw attendance spikes whenever she came to town. That wasn't a fluke, that was the Caitlin Clark effect, and the numbers proved it. And yet, the most impressive part was how she carried herself amid all that chaos, grounded, measured, unfazed. She didn't clap back online, didn't engage in petty feuds. Instead, she doubled down on preparation. It was almost surgical. She was building a future version of herself that would not just play in the WNBA but redefine it. By the time the next round of speaking engagements rolled around, Caitlin had refined her delivery into something resembling mastery. She'd learned the art of pacing, timing, and emotional resonance, not from PR training but from experience. Every audience she faced was different, some skeptical, some in awe, all intrigued. And each time, she left with a standing ovation. Those who attended said there was something electric in the air when she spoke, as if everyone understood they were witnessing a star in real time, not just a player. Videos of her sessions amassed millions of views, sparking endless discussions about how athletes could use their voices beyond sports. She wasn't just representing the Fever anymore, she was representing a movement. And as endorsements grew, so did her leverage. Insiders whispered that Caitlin was beginning to shape conversations even within the league office, her influence quietly pressuring the WNBA to invest more in promotion, player visibility, and fair officiating. Some saw that as a threat, others as a wake-up call. But everyone knew one thing: you couldn't ignore her anymore. Not after she turned a rookie season filled with controversy into an off-season masterclass. In image control, she was playing a long game, one that most athletes never learn until it's too late. Every sign pointed to a larger plan unfolding, from her calculated partnerships to her community projects and media appearances. Her foundation work, particularly around youth sports access, began drawing attention from national outlets. And when she hinted that her next big project would involve supporting young female athletes through mentorship, fans lost it. The excitement online was explosive. Hashtags, fan edits, reaction videos, all pushing the same message. Caitlin Clark was changing the game, both on and off the court. What started as a story about basketball had evolved into something cultural, something generational. And in all of this, the most poetic part was how she never lost her edge. Beneath the glamour and the spotlight, she was still that same fierce competitor who thrived on proving people wrong. She still watched game film, still shot for hours, still chased that perfect rhythm from deep range. Her speaking engagements weren't distractions. They were extensions of her confidence. The court was where she built her reputation. The stage was where she expanded it. And as the offseason drew closer to its end, one truth became obvious. Caitlin Clark wasn't preparing for year 2, she was preparing for a dynasty.